A new report by respected economists has predicted that Chinese car sales in Australia and likely the rest of the world will triple within 9 years' time. That, my friends, is epic disruption. When I say epic, I don't necessarily mean it in a good way. I mean things are about to change in a way that will never, ever be undone. The new norm in Australia will be Chinese cars, not Korean, Thailand, or Japanese-made vehicles. This story has been getting around. The media has been publishing this story, but they're not providing any context. This is the context you need to know. The automotive industry, there's a group body here in Australia. It's essentially run by Toyota. Yeah, it's true there's other legacy automakers all pay to be part of this automotive industry body. It's called the FCAI. Anyhow, this group, mostly legacy automakers, they want to know what the hell's going to happen. They're afraid the Chinese are going to come in and take the automotive industry in Australia. So they pay this massive consulting firm, which is essentially economists who can predict the future, look at all the trends and say, okay, extrapolating the trends, this is what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years from now. Now, this result, what happened as a result of this study, this was just confirming the worst case scenario, the worst fears of automakers all around the world. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. And guys, if you'd like to actually know what's going on in the channel and around the world when it comes to EVs, I'll put a link in the description so you can sign up to our email newsletter. This is interesting, isn't it? Because really the people who were paid to do this study, they knew who was paying them. So it would have been in their best interest to just sugarcoat the truth, to just say, oh, it's all going to be okay. Oh, well, who's paying us? Well, you're paying us. Okay. We're going to say what you want to hear. Interestingly, they didn't do that. China will dominate the Australian car market. Now, this is not just Australia. This is most of the world. But this study was done on Australia. I think it gives us a good idea of how the entire planet's going to go anyway. More than 2 in every 5 new cars sold in Australia, more than 2, probably close to 50%, will be made in China within a decade in one of the biggest disruptions in the history of the automotive industry. But this doesn't really disclose the full truth. And the full truth is that probably most cars being sold in Australia will be made in China. Sure, they might have a Toyota badge on them. They might have a badge from some other car maker, but they'll be essentially Chinese. This move, fueled by motorists switching to affordable low-emission vehicles, particularly EVs, will challenge the dominance of car brands manufactured in Japan, Thailand, and Europe. Now, automotive dealers they say, the main brands are saying, this won't be for consumers. This is going to be bad for consumers. There's not going to be parts to fix these cars. Servicing is going to be a problem. Obviously, servicing for EVs isn't really even necessary. But of course, if there's less servicing needed, is it bad for the consumer? No, is it bad for you guys if you don't have to service your car? Or is it bad for the seller of the vehicle who can't make a profit selling you expensive services after that? The Centre for International Economics released the findings on Tuesday in an analysis prepared for the Australian Automotive Dealers Association. The report said that half, or nearly half, around 43% of vehicles imported to Australia, or basically sold in Australia, will be made in China by 2035, dwarfing current leader Japan on 22% and Thailand with 11%. But here's the other part of the issue. This is actually not fully reflective of reality because of those cars made in Thailand, a lot of the Thai car market is being taken over by Chinese car companies. So what that means is some of the cars that are sold in Australia, right, that are from Thailand will actually be owned by Chinese car companies. So that 43% number all of a sudden increases significantly. I think this is also very conservative. I think the number of 43% will be closer to 63%. Japan-made vehicles represent 30% or represented 30% of new cars sold in Australia so far this year, while Chinese are, well, they are 16% so far. The swap to Chinese vehicles, says The Driven, will be driven by consumers' rising demand for not hybridized cars as you think of them today, but EREVs, plug-in hybrids, and fully electric cars. And the continued decline in the cost of these cars is what will drive the demand. And not just the cost, it's also the quality. The surprisingly the quality. You'll often find Chinese cars are actually better quality than those made in Europe and in Germany. This change has already been obvious in the Australian car market. James Vortman said, thanks to an influx of Chinese brands and models, he can see the disruption happening today already. And when you think about it, all the Teslas sold in Australia, they are made in China. All the BYDs are made in China. Geely, where do they make their cars? Obviously in China. But those are the car makers, particularly Geely and BYD, who are predicted, along with companies like Xpeng and Zeekr, to take a lot of market share over the next 10 years. Australia is at an inflection point where we are going to see exponential growth of sales and new brands from China. This growth comes on top of the change to electric vehicle drivetrains. Chinese electric vehicle brands already established here in Australia include Xpeng, Zeekr, Geely, MG, BYD, Leap Motor, IM Motors, they're about to hit Australia, and even cars like Volvo, even BMW EVs now made in China. BYD considered Australia a key market, President Wang Shanfu said, as it was well established and extremely competitive. Basically, BYD is saying if they can take over in Australia, they can do it anywhere. Success here in Australia is a signal to the world that BYD vehicles can meet and exceed the expectations of mature markets, he said. Now, one expert said this rate of growth will have unintended implications to consumer protection, such as the supply of parts, wait times to service vehicles, and the long-term ability of manufacturers to guarantee their consumer warranties. In other words, how many companies will go bankrupt? Well, you could say the same thing for legacy automakers. Is Nissan going to be around still? Is Subaru going to be around? Is Mazda going to be around? Are companies like Jeep, are they going to be around? I mean, Chrysler, what's happened to them, right? There's many legacy automakers that could disappear within the next 10 to 15 years as well. He goes on, we will be talking to government about what consumer protections are adequate and appropriate. Ultimately, this is the takeaway. China will become far and away the #1 source of new cars in Australia. Now, some of the people are saying this is just fueled by emissions regulations. It's only because of emissions regulations that people are going to be buying EVs and E-revs and plug-in hybrids. The truth is, actually, the products are better. You can drive even an E-rev or a plug-in hybrid. You can do most of your driving on EV only. 4 million and growing households have solar panels. They can charge their cars for free nearly every week. And what it comes down to is cost. Product. Is the product better? Yes, it is. Consumers, for that reason, if it's better and it's cheaper, consumers, of course, will buy it. So you can see here this sales share chart, well, the sales share forecast from these economists. They're predicting that China is going to go from 17% to 43% in only 9 years' time. Now, I think it's going to go even faster than that, but I could be wrong. But you can see here who is going to lose out. Thailand, they will lose half of their sales in Australia. That's massive and will really hurt Thailand's economy. Japan will lose 33% of their sales. I think Japan's sales will actually fall more than that. South Korea's will nearly halve. The rest of the world will stay about the same, surprisingly, at 16%. I don't think that's likely. I think China's probably going to take more than 50%. It's happening very, very fast. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.